Spoiler alert, Dance of the Dragons and a massive Targaryen civil war dating way back to some 200 years ago, there is much more to the prequel series of Game of Thrones, aka the House of Dragon. Join us in today's video as we reveal to you 10 crazy things you probably didn't know about the House of Dragon. So let the countdown begin. Number 10. The plot is arranged some 200 years back to Game of Thrones. Okay, usually when we get a new part of some series or movie, it's actually a sequel to the previous one. Like guys, the newly released one is mostly the next part of the same existing series. However, Game of Thrones production teams always make sure to surprise the audience in one or the other way. And this time, they played with our minds by releasing a prequel to their previous series, aka Game of Thrones. Inner resources have revealed that the plot will take the audience way back to 129 AC or most probably to 131 AC. Guys, this is about some 3 centuries before the start of Game of Thrones. I don't know much about the plot, but I will explain it according to George R.R. Martin's book Fire and Blood. So House Targaryen ruled the 7 kingdoms, and the reign was quite peaceful. There's much more to the plot, but I would rather not spoil this series for you, so let's head on to the next missed out part. Number 9. RHAENYRA to succeed Viserys I. Out of the 3 children born to Viserys I and Queen Aemma, only Princess RHAENYRA survives. Her story is very inspiring because as she grows, her father trains her to succeed on the throne. While she is still a young girl, RHAENYRA was taught to do a lot of the critical stuff that would help her to her reign. She was also educated about diplomacy and the state affairs. And of course, there were some important aspects of reigning a throne. On some occasions, RHAENYRA joined council meetings which trained her to tackle any type of matter. All of these happenings were not private, and everybody knew what she was up to. Because of this, many people seeing her started to train themselves just like her so they could align with her in the competition for the throne. Only time can tell us further how everything turns out for the princess. Number 8. The second marriage of Viserys. Now, you might be wondering where Queen Aemma went if Viserys is getting married for the second time. So, Queen Aemma dies in 105 AC, and because of this reason, Viserys I remarries in 106 AC. This time, the new queen is Alicent Hightower, and the couple would have 4 or more children. The story continues in the same manner and gets twists and turns until Aegon Viserys and Queen Alicent's son marries his own sister. Now, if you have binge-watched Game of Thrones, you would know the dynasty would often marry their brother and sisters just to keep the bloodline pure. Despite Aegon's ambitions, Viserys I will continue to support Rhaenyra's claim until his death. Number 7. Split of the Council and Viserys I's death. Just when the Viserys I died, the council was already divided into 2 parts. One part of the council was in support of Princess Rhaenyra, while the other half was supporting the future Aegon II. Or I can say that the fight was between the blacks and the greens. When Viserys announced Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, he disregarded earlier bitter arguments regarding his father, King Jaehaerys' heir. And this claim was most probably made before his death, so one thing was for sure, he wanted Rhaenyra to reign on the throne. With these happenings all over the council, Lord Lyman Beesbury gets assassinated. Lord Lyman Beesbury, the Master of Coins, is killed by no other than the former ally of the princess, Sir Criston. Criston remained close to the princess for a long time, but eventually turned against her. Here, I would conclude this scene by revealing how the council turns green by the end and the ravens are sent to those loyal to the Aegon. Number 6. Aegon II seized power first. After the death of Viserys I, a lot of things got changed. Some of the most shocking changes that I actually expected were the council splitting up into 2 parts. Like I knew this by the beginning when Viserys remarried Queen Alicent. But guys, the worst is yet to happen, so keep watching, eh? So now the future king's brother, Princess Aemond, gets engaged to one of the daughters of Lord Boros Baratheon. And this was the only way he could secure a place of the House of Baratheon. Just when Viserys died, Aegon hurried to have his coronation at the Dragon Pit. Aegon was crowned by Sir Criston Cole, while Helaena, the new queen and Aegon's wife, was crowned by Alicent Hightower. However, Viserys I's crown had been taken by Sir Steffon Darklyn of Kingsguard. Number 5. There were other Dragon Lords too. Until now, I was pretty sure that the Targaryens used to be the only Dragon Lords, and I believe you were too, right? Like, it was evident throughout the series that came out even before the House of Dragons. I know some species were still not in the best shape, yet Targaryens were perceived as the best. But let me tell you one dark secret about the Dragon Lords. The Targaryens weren't the only Dragon Lords that existed. some other families used to identify themselves as dragon lords, and this was before the bane of Valyria. As a matter of fact, the Targaryens were the only ones who survived the cataclysm, at least this is what we believe. Number 4. Targaryen civil war killed all of the dragons. We all know how complete the Targaryen family was in history. I mean, until now, you would have an idea about how they have these brutal conflicts between these families. And you guys, this literally made me realize that even a family as powerful and dominating as the Targaryens can have internal problems. No, I don't mean that I didn't expect that because, come on guys, the series involves a throne. And how can one not expect politics to be there, right? Okay, so many years before the Game of Thrones, a civil war broke between RHAENYRA and Aegon II for the throne. Unfortunately, both of them during the war, and Aegon III ascended to the Iron Throne. However, one very unfortunate event that occurred by the end of the war was the extinction of all Targaryen dragons. This was a major setback for the ruling power because they were vulnerable to attacks from other houses. Number 3. The Targaryens found the Royal Guard. So it's obvious that a Royal Guard will always be there to safeguard whoever occupies the Iron Throne. Or, in the case of the various female leaders of Westeros throughout the years, the Queen's Guard. Whether a Royal Guard or Queen's Guard, the best knights and warriors belonged to them. Because of so much power and dominance, the Targaryens were the first to come up with a Royal Guard. Given that they serve as the ruler of Westeros' final line of defense and are generally reliable, they would be appointed along with anyone who occupied the throne. Number 2. Secret Targaryens are everywhere. Let's remember what Game of Thrones explained about the Targaryens. From the beginning of the Game of Thrones, the Targaryens were supposedly on the verge of extinction. And I'm not going to lie here, but I thought the line was already finished up until now. However, as the series continued, it became clear that many high-ranking members of other houses carried Targaryen blood in their veins. Like, no guys, they aren't extinct. They are still present throughout, but in just different houses. At this point, practically every other major and minor house in Westeros has been penetrated by the tendrils of the Targaryen family line. Now, no one can be certain whether someone is Targaryen or not, and let me share a mystery here. The Blackfyre is a suspect that he might belong to the Targaryen bloodline. Number 1. Change in succession practices due to the Civil War. There were a lot of things that changed as a result of the Civil War. Like, a lot of dragons were killed as a result, and some prominent figures died during the war. In short, the whole scenario was no less than chaos. Aegon II became the successor of the throne by attempting a very dramatic move that is feeding his half-sister Rhaenyra to the dying dragon Sunfire. However, Aegon II could only enjoy his power for roughly 6 months, and even though Aegon III, Rhaenyra's son, was only a child and had to live for years under a regent before he could govern himself, the civil war had ended with his coronation. The longer-lasting impact would be seen in the Targaryens clan's future succession practices, which would probably prefer male heirs over female ones in the future. So, what do you think would be the end of House of Dragons? Do you believe the Targaryens would rise to the power once again? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up to this video, and I will see you in the next one.